Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Garner Morantes from Elance, and welcome to our presentation. Today we're here to talk about tips and best practices for you as a freelancer on the Elance marketplace. And this could be helpful for you whether you're new to freelancing, particularly new to freelancing on Elance, or you're just coming back to the Elance platform because it's been a while. What we've done is we've structured this presentation really around the tips and best practices that are going to help you get started right away. We've built this presentation, we've collected this information after talking with a lot of clients who hire on Elance and some of our most successful freelancers here on the platform. So with that, let's dive right in, and here's an overview of the agenda today. Now, for those of you listening to a recorded version of this, the presentation is going to run about 30-35 minutes. And afterwards, on our live versions, like today, we'll host a Q&A. So if you're attending live today, stand by for about 30-35 minutes, and we'll open it up for questions for all of you. Let's dive right in and talk about building your profile and what you can do today. When we talk with clients who hire on Elance, they tell us these things really stand out for them as they're reviewing your profile. First, a detailed overview section that tells them who you are and what you're all about. Second, professionalism in all aspects, and this includes something as simple as your thumbnail image and getting that image ID verified. And we'll talk about what that means in a little bit here. Standing out with tested skills and groups, so these are some of the things that you can now do to differentiate yourself from the competition. Including examples of your work in your portfolio area. Again, actually showing clients what you can do, giving them that confidence in your skill set. And then finally, attention to detail. Clients are hiring you to do a good job on their specific project, and your representation of your professionalism, of that clarity, of your really diligence comes across in your profile and can make a big difference. So before we get into some of those items in detail, I want to show you an example of a pretty complete freelancer's profile. And the first thing that we'll start with here is what we call the snapshot area. Now that snapshot area, if you look at your own profile today, you'll notice that it includes some things that really haven't built up yet if you're brand new to Elance especially. And I'm talking about things like your level score, your recommend score, your feedback and earnings. Those are all based on activity on Elance, on your experience over time. So for many of you, this area might be something that starts to develop, but as of now, it's probably pretty open. But something you can do right away is get ID verified, and that's that green check mark that you see next to Vanessa's name. Here's that overview section, and you can tell why it's really important. It's one of the first things that a client's going to see when they click on your profile page. That job history section, similar to the snapshot area, that's going to be something that develops over time as you begin winning jobs, as you begin completing jobs. Here's the portfolio area. You can tell why this is really important. It's very dynamic. It lets a client just flip through and see examples of your work without having to go anywhere else. The skills section down there, and then finally the keywords that you can add to your profile. So let's start with that overview section. And what are some tips that you can use today to write a great overview? Well, really the biggest tip is to be targeted, to be specific in your approach, in your marketing here. This is your opportunity to really put your best and your first foot forward as you're presenting yourself to clients. So think about the clients that are going to benefit the most from your skill set. Who are the clients? What kinds of jobs are you a good fit for? And write your overview section with those jobs in mind and those clients in mind. So an example of this is if you're a writer, let's say, and you specialize or you've done a lot of work in the past in print media, let's say. Well, include that. Say, here's what I specialize. I specialize in print media. I'm coming to Elance with over 10 years of experience writing for a major metropolitan newspaper. Or if you're a translator, you want to be very specific. I am a Spanish to English translator. I have X number of years of experience, or I've done translation for government type events or political initiatives. Whatever helps kind of ground and put more specifics around your expertise and what you're bringing to the table. Show how your skills are unique and how they're going to enable you to solve problems. What about you makes you stand out? Is it some skills that you have? Is it some credentials that you have? Is it your experience, or maybe just your passion for this area of work that makes you better than the rest? And then remember, this is a relationship that you're going to be entering into when you get hired. You're going to be working with someone really closely. So because of that, try and build that rapport as much as possible in your overview section. And a great way to do that is just to be friendly. Let that personality come through. Let these clients know there is someone on the other end of this, and here's who you are. And then finally, no contact information. It is against Elance policy to include things like your email address, your Skype account, your personal website. None of that should be included in your profile area. And you'll see here a couple of examples of profile sections. And the example on the left, even though it's relatively brief, still gives you a good idea of who this freelancer is and what they're all about. The example on the right, hardly any information, tells you almost nothing about who this freelancer is. So a carefully written overview section is important, but often you need a visual way to stand out. One of the things that I highlighted earlier is getting ID verified. What this means is taking your profile image and setting up an appointment with Elance's partner to get that profile image, your government issued ID, confirmed and verified online. To give you an example, or to show you where to find that, I'm going to jump over to the site so we can see where that information is. And you can see here I've clicked into this is one of my test accounts here, and I've clicked onto my username, profile, and you'll see right here this link to get verified. So that's where you go to set up that verification appointment. After you click that link, what you'll do is you'll be setting up an appointment to have a brief Skype call. So you will need a free Skype account and a webcam. Our partner will call you at that time. They'll have you hold up your government issued ID and they'll verify that's you. And then you get that green check mark. What this tells client is this is a real person on the other side of things. This is what they look like. They've had their government issued ID verified online, and we found that this makes a difference. Freelancers with ID verification, they just win more jobs, they have better outcomes on their jobs, and they're actually earning more. Another way to build this confidence with clients is to get your skills tested and to join some Elance groups. You can see what we're getting at here with this slide is it's really about building confidence with potential clients. They've never met you. They don't know who you are. They don't know what your skill set is like, what kind of work you can produce. So you want to do whatever possible to build that confidence with them. So skills tests. Again, you can find this on your profile page. And I'm here on my profile page. I'm going to scroll down to the skills section. It's as simple as clicking edit, starting to type in those skills name, and you'll see the link there, the option to take a test. So I'll click here to add a skill, and then I can take a test from here. Tests are free to take, and they range from technical skills to non-technical skills. There again, we integrate these tests with a partner that we work with. So what you'll be doing is you'll be taking a 10, 15, 20-minute test for any particular skill that you want to show on your profile. Now you don't have to take a test if you don't want to, but what you see here is it really makes a big difference for clients. So what happens is I take a test. At the end of that test I get a score, and it says you passed, you rank in the top 10%, or you passed, you rank in the top 30% of people who have taken this test. And then I can choose to display that score on my Elance profile page. I can also choose to not display that skill if I don't want to. If I didn't perform really well on the test, if I think I can do better, or if I just took this one by mistake and I want to take something else, I don't need to display that skill on my profile. You can take a test again to improve your score, but keep in mind if you don't do as well, it can also result in a lower score. So just keep that in mind. Elance groups work much the same way. In order to join a group on Elance, you need to provide proof or certification of a particular skill. So let me give you an example. If I want to join the Oracle Certified Professionals group, in order to join that group and be accepted, I need to provide proof of my Oracle certification. In order to join the WordPress Programmers group, I need to take the WordPress test and perform along a certain criteria to be able to join that group. And then when you join, that badge shows up on your profile. Finally, use your portfolio. It's great to tell clients what you can do. It's great to show them your skill set. It's great to show them some certifications that you have. But it takes it a step further when you can actually show them the work that you do. And that's what your portfolio area is for. You can upload examples of work that you've done in the past, like video files, audio files, image files, Word documents, whatever it is you have ownership of and you have approval to use, and you can use to display what you're all about. All of these things here, folks, again, are about building confidence with clients, showing them, yes, I know how to do this. Yes, I'm a professional. Yes, you're going to get great work when you choose me. So let's talk about proposals a little bit. And before you submit a proposal, what should you look for? And the reason why we have this here is because, as you know, as a member of the Elance community, you have a certain number of opportunities. You have a certain number of connects available to you each month in order to submit proposals. So you want to use those connects wisely, and more importantly, you want to use your time and your energy wisely. So because of that, we recommend taking a look at the jobs, taking a look at the clients before you even submit a proposal to help you decide whether or not this is something that I want to pursue. So when you're looking at job posts, what should you look for? Well, here's some things here that you might want to put on your checklist, and I'm sure for each of you this is going to be something that develops over time that could change. But you obviously want to look at a job post and see, does it match my skills and interests? Has the client taken the time to prepare a complete and thoughtful job description? Now, some clients will put a lot of detail in their job posts, others may not. And there's certainly a fine balance there, but look for what works for you. Does it give you enough information to tell you what your responsibilities would be, what this client is like, and how serious they are about this job? Does it meet your needs financially? Do you have the time available to complete this job? And does it match or does it meet Elance's terms of service? Don't move forward with a proposal if it seems that the client is not following Elance's terms of service or is violating any of our rules. If they're asking for free work, for example, I want you to prepare a mock-up of my new website before I decide if I hire you or not. That's against Elance policy. Don't submit a proposal, and instead you can report that to us and we'll take a look. Here's an example of a really descriptive job post and job description. Again, you're not always going to see this level of detail in a job post, and that's okay. But look for those key items that matter to you most that are going to help you decide whether you submit a proposal. I encourage you, really look for those specific requirements that a client has. Are they looking for someone in a particular location? Are they looking for someone with a certain number of years of experience or a specific skill set that you might have or might not have? And then look for that deliverable, or what's the end result that the client wants. Are they clear enough about what they're looking for to give me that information to submit my proposal? So a job post is one thing. It tells you what the job is all about, whether or not you might be a good fit. But you also want to take a look at who the client is. Remember, this is a relationship that you're entering into. You want to make sure it's a good fit for you, and you want to make sure it gives you the confidence you need that you're going to get paid. So how do you do that? Well, on each job post, you'll see that link here that we're hovering over here in the screenshot for a client's username. And in that client's username, I can find out all this information here. This little box will pop up. I can click onto their username as well, and get all this information and even a little bit more on some specific jobs. So what should I be looking for? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure the client has a payment method on file with Elance. And that's what you find with that first green $sign, that little circle there that you see I'm hovering over right now. Payment verified means they have a payment method on file with Elance. This is critical. This tells you this client is for real. They have that money there. Gives me much more confidence of getting paid for this work. Are they an established buyer with a job history on Elance? But just like you need to start somewhere, you don't want to discount, you don't want to completely eliminate a new client who seems to have a really good job. Maybe you've even had a conversation with them and they appear really solid. But if they have a history, what does that history look like? For all the jobs that they post on Elance, how many of those get awarded? That's what that award ratio means. Do they give fair feedback? It doesn't have to be 5-star feedback every single time, but it should appear to be fair, should appear to be balanced. So we've looked at a job post. Looks really interesting, seems like a good fit for us. The client appears to be really solid. It's time to submit a proposal. You'll be able to submit a proposal from the job post page itself. You just click on the link to the job and you'll see a big blue dialog box there that says write your proposal. The best advice here is to write your proposal, customize that proposal with this job and with this client in mind. And what I mean by that is make it really clear to the client that you are addressing their job, you are addressing their needs and their objectives and goals in your proposal. The other side of that is just to submit a generic proposal that really doesn't address what this client is looking for. That's the worst thing you can do. Clients want someone who is interested in their work, who wants to do a good job for them, and you want to deliver that in your proposal and make that clear. Quickly highlight the value and the benefits that you offer. What about you makes you unique? What about you makes you stand out? Is it experience, years of experience? Is it credentials? Is it just a willingness and an energy to work much harder than the next person? Whatever it is, include that. And provide some relevant samples. Save the clients the homework of having to go to your portfolio, flip through all your examples and see the ones that are most relevant for this job. Save them that effort and provide that to them in your proposal. You can attach files to your proposal. And if you're on a paid membership plan, you can use what's called a featured samples area to put examples of your best work right there. Now this doesn't mean provide them with new work, okay? So it doesn't mean create a mock-up of their logo or write the first few articles or first few pages of their book so they can see what your style is like. That's considered free work. We don't want you to deliver that as part of your proposal and not get paid for it. Make your proposal concise. Make sure it's clear. Make sure there's no errors in there, no typos, no grammatical errors, and no contact information again. At this stage, you still cannot include your contact information. Now, some clients will read your proposal and get back to you, and they'll say, hey, I really like what you're saying here. I'd like to talk to you about a few more things, maybe have a job interview. Can we talk over the phone? Can we talk over Skype? At that point, you can share your contact information, but not before. Here's an example of a really well-written proposal. This is actually one that I received for a job that I was hiring for. Again, the biggest thing here is it's very clear from John's proposal that he is addressing my job. Okay, it's not a generic proposal. Yeah, there's some pieces in here that he probably uses on other proposals, but it's specific to the job. It's very descriptive and really helps him stand out by highlighting his unique qualifications, including some samples as well. And then this is an example of what that featured samples area looks like. So if you can imagine, I'm a client looking at 10 proposals, let's say. Vladimir's really stands out because he has these dynamic, examples of his work that I can just flip through and see very quickly. Part of submitting your proposal means submitting your price. And this is going to be an exercise that really you become more comfortable with. You'll really over time understand, okay, this price is good for this type of job. Here's what I can expect here. And really it's a work in progress. But some basic information that we can give you here is, start with your bottom line and work your way up from there. Who am I competing against? Do I have some skills that make it so I can charge a little bit more, charge a premium? What is the average price for these types of jobs on Elance? And you can actually see some of those average prices on our trends page. If you log into Elance today, at the bottom of the site, you'll see a link to trends to give you a sense on some average rates. And remember, you can look at the client's profile page to see how much they've spent in the past on jobs on Elance. And then factor in any additional cost to you. Do you need to purchase some new software for your computer? Is this a rush job that you need to do in 2 days? Anything like that that's going to require you some additional effort, some additional costs, factor that into your price. And if you need to, you can submit a proposal without a price. So let's say the job looks really interesting, but there's just not that key piece of information, or there's a few more questions that you have before you feel comfortable submitting a price. You can submit your proposal and click a checkbox that says, I'll submit my amount later, and you can have that conversation with your client before you settle on a price. Negotiations are going to happen. You might submit your proposal. Client might come back to you and say, hey, I really like this, but can you charge a little bit less? Or you might go back to the client after getting that information that you were looking for and say, you know what, I actually, this is a little bit more pricier than I thought. I need to charge a little bit more. That's part of the process. Just be professional during those negotiations and realize you don't need to move forward with a project if you're not comfortable with the price or anything else about it. You can withdraw your proposal. You can make edits to it. Any of that is possible. And never agree to begin working until you've formally been awarded the job through Elance and funding is in place. I'll talk about the funding piece in a minute. But for the award piece, what that means is you should get an email from Elance that says, congratulations, you have been awarded this job. And until you get that, until you see that change in your Elance page that says this is a working job, that means you haven't been awarded it. You're not working yet. So wait until you get that email. Wait until you have funding in place. And never agree to work off of Elance. So what that means is your client should not be telling you, great, let's start working. I'm going to send you some money through PayPal after you deliver the work. Or I'm going to wire the money to you directly. I'm going to send you a check. You only get paid through the Elance platform. What that means is payments come through, they land on your transactions page, you'll see them there, and from there you can make your withdrawals. Okay, so you're never giving a bank information, you're never giving PayPal information to your client. All of that is held on Elance. You're adding it there, it's kept secure there. On Elance, there's two types of jobs. There's fixed price jobs and there's hourly jobs. Fixed price jobs work really well when there's a final deliverable in mind. You know exactly the client has stated exactly what they want at the end of the day. I want 4 videos created. I want a new website built. I want a new book written. Hourly jobs work really well when there's flexibility involved and the client wants to pay for your time. For example, I need some help rewriting some documentation, some documents for me. It's about maybe 10 to 15 hours a week. I'm not sure exactly how much each week. Or a client might say, I need some IT and programming support for my small business, but some weeks it's going to be busier than others. I'm not sure exactly what the tasks are going to be, but I know it's about 20 hours a week. The great thing about Elance is you have payment protection on all jobs. This is very important. This means you can work on a job knowing and having that comfort that you're going to get paid for your efforts. Now, it requires you to set up your job the right way from the beginning and to make sure you're using the tools that we have available. So that's what we're going to talk about here for a few minutes. So on fixed price jobs, it's called escrow payment protection. The way this works is you will be working according to milestones and getting funding through Elance Escrow. So let me give you a real example. Let's say a client is hiring for a new website to be, or a new logo to be created. And the client says, I want a new logo created. I'm willing to pay between $1,500 and $2,000. 10 different freelancers submit their proposals. The client says, hey, I like John's proposal. The client says, hey, John, let's talk about this. They have a conversation. They agree on a final price of, let's say, $1,200. The client awards John the job through Elance and says, I'm paying you $1,200. Now at this point, either the client or John the freelancer can say, I would like to split this up into milestones. Now in almost all jobs, we recommend more than one milestone, all fixed price jobs. So in this case, John says, I'd like to split this job into 2 milestones. Milestones are dates when the freelancer expects to get paid and the client expects to receive work and make payment. So these 2 milestones, let's say the first one is after 3 days, and John is going to deliver a mock-up of the logo. And he's going to allow 2 rounds of revisions from that mock-up. And then the second milestone, John's going to deliver the final image file with, let's say, 3 rounds of edits as part of that final image file. So we have dates for these milestones, and we're splitting up the payment into 2 different payments. Let's say one is $600, the other one is $600. The client agrees to these terms, and before John begins working, the client deposits $600 into that first milestone's escrow account. So what that means is the freelancer sees escrow has been funded for this milestone, the client's money is sitting there securely, and the freelancer can begin working. John can begin working on that first milestone. So when John finishes that first mock-up, he uploads the work to Elance, he marks the milestone as complete, and sends a message to the client that says the work is there ready for your review. So the client then can review that work, approve it, and release that payment to the freelancer. So this is how you qualify for payment protection. You see the money there in escrow. You don't begin working until that money is there. And then you request a release of payment and you wait until you get paid for that milestone before you begin working on the next one. Hourly jobs work a little bit differently. On hourly jobs, we call it work view payment protection. So what this means is, let's say the client is hiring for some IT and programming support. And they say, I want someone to be on standby to work for my company for about 10 to 15 hours a week for 2 months. And I'm willing to pay between $20 and $25. Well, the client gets a bunch of proposals. The client picks Mary's proposal and says, I really like Mary's proposal. They have a conversation and they agree on no more than 20 hours a week at $15, or no, sorry, at $30 an hour for X number of weeks. So they agree to those final terms. The client awards Mary the job through Elance. And before Mary begins working, she, as a freelancer, you download Elance's tracker with WorkView tool. What this is a time card. Okay? So when Mary begins working on Tuesday morning for the client, let's say, and she's going to work for 2 hours, she starts Elance's tracker with WorkView tool. Tracker will keep track of her time and it will capture screenshots of her computer and upload those screenshots to her timesheet. So the client can see the timesheet at the end of the week. They can look at the time. They can make sure that that time was spent on their job. And they can reject any time if it wasn't spent on their job, so they don't pay for it. The way you're protected here is you don't begin working until you use trackers, until you get Elance's tracker with WorkView tool. You make sure the client has a payment method in place, And you'll see that work view ready status in the workroom. You'll also see that green circle next to their user ID. And you don't continue working until you've received your payments. So the way this works is at the end of the week, your timesheet will get submitted automatically to the client. And they have 5 days to review that timesheet and reject any time before it gets automatically paid. So if you don't get paid at the end of the week and it's a couple days have gone by or something like that, you stop working. You tell Elance by filing a dispute, and we'll go in there and take a look at it for you. This is how you are effectively guaranteed payment on hourly jobs. So here's an example of what that fixed price job looks like with multiple milestones. You can see here we have 4 milestones. Those green boxes there with the $ mean escrow has been funded. It allows me to see the money there. It allows me to wait until I get paid before I continue working on milestone 2, milestone 3, and so forth. And for hourly jobs, my timesheet gets sent automatically to the client. I don't have to chase them down for payment. It gets automatically processed at the end of the 5-day review period. And if I don't get paid, I stop working. And Elance is there to help. Okay. On Elance, your reputation is really important. It's going to be how clients in part review you. It's going to affect how you show up in search results, how often you're recommended, all those sorts of things. So it really boils down to these 3 key metrics here: your level score, your recommend score, and your feedback. And all of these you'll see in your snapshot area of your Elance profile today. For all 3 of these metrics, folks, the biggest key here is delivering great work and making sure your customers, your clients are satisfied. So when it comes to what you can do to manage feedback, let's say, well, feedback gets left by clients that you've worked with, and it gets left at the end of the job. So what you can do is you can obviously ask them to leave you feedback at the end of the job, but more importantly, you can just be professional and deliver great work for them. Make sure that you're communicating regularly with your client. Are you meeting their expectations? Is there anything that you need to talk through to make sure you're both on the same page? Just as clients can leave you feedback, ratings, and comments, you can leave comments back to a client. Anytime you leave those comments, be professional, because those comments will show up on their profile, but they will also show up on your profile, and they cannot be changed or removed. And then for your recommend score, that gets calculated based on a private rating that your client leaves you at the end of the job. So they'll leave you that feedback rating, and they'll also leave you a recommendation rating. Again, this is something that you won't see. So the best thing you can do is remind your client that it's important and work with them to make sure that they're having a good experience, that they're getting what they want out of this job. And then finally, your level score is based on what we call My Stats. If you go today to the Find Work section of your Elance site, of your Elance account, you'll see a link to My Stats. My Stats, if you're on a basic membership plan, it'll give you some high-level information there. If you're on a paid membership plan, you get a lot of detail that tells you exactly where you can get points, where you can improve upon from last week, things like that. So My Stats are based on all your activity on Elance. So it includes things like your feedback, the recommendation ratings you've received, but it also includes things like how complete your profile is, what kind of proposals you're delivering, any violations you may have had, things like that all factor in to your My Stats and then your level score. Here's what the My Stats page looks like. I won't go into too much detail here. You can find all of this in our help area, our knowledge base there, if you just look up My Stats. By working on Elance, you agree to our terms of service. So if there's, I encourage you to go back and take a quick look at the terms of service, look at the independent contractor services agreement, and just familiarize yourself with what is and what is not allowed on Elance. And don't be afraid to check with us. We have a great customer support team here available for you. If you go to that help link at the top of the Elance site and click contact support, we're here to answer any questions. But be vigilant. Check with us, and really don't provide any information. Don't get caught into any situations that don't make you feel comfortable. If the client's unresponsive, if they're asking you for any private or sensitive information, if they're asking you to buy anything as part of the job and you guys had not discussed that as part of the terms, if they're asking you to deliver any free work before they decide whether they want to hire you or not, that's not okay. So check with us. Okay, so with that, I'm going to show some resources here available for you. If you'd like some more information, check out Elance University if you haven't already. That's under the Resources tab of your Elance site. From there, you'll find a lot of help videos, some links to other documentation. You'll also find a link to a recorded version of a webinar like this, and a link to sign up again if you'd like to join us, or sign up live if you'd like to join us live and get some questions answered. So with